Yeah, you gotta be kind of careful there. Okay, guys, we're doing today something that probably took a year out of my life. Yeah. But then as it is with those things, I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and put a few things together, and it'd be all right. And I ended up doing 6 pages of transcribing. So I'm sorry. That's all I can say. But you're gonna love this. I absolutely loved it because every single bit I found in there is literally modern language. Yeah. It's not, we've done a lot of other language, so we can happily ignore the stuff they do the same, right? And I don't know if any of you guys even know about Chris Allard or Allard. I don't. Most of you guys won't, and I think after this you will start checking them out. So Allard right now is probably one of the fastest. That's the last page. Just if you just hand it over to Alistair, please. Allard is right now probably one of the hottest properties in British guitar playing. Full stop. He's a guy. Say again. Is he a young guy? He is. Yeah, must be in his mid-30s. He can't be any older than that. He's been around a good decade already doing stuff. So he became famous playing with Tim Garland, who's Chick Corea's MD, and some loads of albums with him. He's gone all over Europe, touring his own stuff, and he's just done a new album called Live I Know, I think it's called. Live I Know. And did I give you page number 4 already? No. They are top left is numbered. Yeah. I know it's not the best copying thing. At one point I'm going to get a new copy machine. And then but also there's a couple of mistakes in this copy, but this thing I sent you through has all the mistakes corrected. Okay. Yeah, so you just ignore this one. This will do for now. And then it will we'll get some new stuff going in a second. Oh yeah, and then you can go and check it out at home. I point out where the problems are, if I can remember it still, or not just playing it wrong now off the sheet. Okay. Yeah, I got really carried away. There's a couple of reasons why I did get really carried away. So Chris Allard, I got aware of. He did an album. He did an album called Open Spaces, and Pat Martino's written about it. That's he's one of the greatest jazz players or guitarists alive, something like that, right? So if Pat Martino says somebody's good, I sort of naturally start listening up. Obviously, do you have page number 3, 2, 3? Yeah. Just the first page. Yeah. Okay, here we go, and here it comes. Lovely. So I divided it up in a way where I looked at sort of certain common things they do, and looked first and foremost at exercises they support that. Mm-hmm. So a couple of I just listen to a lot of their playing and kind of thinking, hang on, this is things they do quite a fair bit. And Allard taps a fair bit. He's a bit of a tapper. Okay. And he does a lot of highly intervallic sort of things. So he's got a really big span. But the first bit is a bit of a palate cleanser, as Pete Keller put it last time, and I think this is probably true for this one. Basically, it's something you could do in any mode if you like, but it uses 2 consecutive arpeggios, really, if you look at it. And the first one is an F major arpeggio, and it's split. The third is put up an octave. You know this from Eric Johnson already, though? Yeah. Okay, but the way we play this is like this. Yeah, and this is how he plays it, yeah? And then basically the way it goes, this particular lick goes like this. And then you shift up to the next position. And now you play the first inversion, yeah? So we get this here as a root position. 1, 5, 3. And then the G chords, you play 2 consecutive chords in the key of C, yeah? Now we get F in the first inversion. So 3, 1, 5. Which in itself is beautiful. So rather than Eric Johnson, who keeps the same shape, this one goes now through different inversions. And that's why I think it's a great starter to all of this. Because it makes us think a little bit, but it's not, we know what we're doing. Because we're in C major. So that goes to G major. That's the next one, which is in itself, I think, is just a beautiful voicing altogether. Just to kind of do this. Oh, very much so, isn't it? Yeah, very open. Okay, so now the next one is the next inversion. So So that's 5, 3 octave. And that's it. And then the last one. That's it. And if you then do the slide. That's it, lovely. Yeah, you can, yeah, exactly. It needs a little whammy bar action in the end, isn't it? It's perfect. Even though Anglo is a 3-3-5 type of player.
Okay.
So it's most time I see him is with a 3-3-5, and he's got this sort of quite saturated sound. Really, he digs quite hard. I was quite surprised by how hard he actually digs on the things that are really like touch and certain bits, and a sort of a really nice gear shift. But when he plays individual lines, it's quite it's really pronounced when it comes down to that. Okay, so I thought it's a really nice line. So you can do this in anything. You can make a melodic minor line out of this, harmonic minor line out of this. Just take 2 consecutive chords, split the third. You know, so you go, okay, the third goes up an octave, and then you got that particular line. So you can even make this just a nice little exercise. You might write your own little piece with that, going through those ideas, but changing the chords around, you know, so going through a progression. Yeah, it's a lovely idea. He plays that at stupid speed, by the way, which most of the things he does. And it sounds really hip because it's such a wide intervallic thing. Yeah? But I thought it was a nice little idea into him. And the idea, of course, of using inversions, I think this is kind of something, when you hear Eric Johnson said he might be doing... Yeah, he might be doing that, and that's kind of cool. But you don't really hear the inversions so much. But then doing the... Harmonize the whole scale, you hear that quite a bit, but then it's often based on a shape. Right, so when somebody does a run, you often get that run as a shape. I mean, he's obviously perfectly capable of playing any inversion you want to. The guy can really play. It sounds a bit wrong, isn't it? Yeah.
And will stay within just doing the same 2 chords over and over.
That's exactly right. So this one, and I'm saying this also again, you know, it's not like the one thing he does, but it's a thing he does.
Yeah.
Really, and that's kind of a cooler thing, and you can hear this in all sorts of contexts. And it just generates a really nice open line, yeah. And of course, you know, you don't have to play them blending into each other. You can play them. Right, so you can kind of, you know, play them as individuals. Get a really nice slidey line, and you can go. That's exactly right. Yes, that's right. That's right. Lovely. And you have sort of a Lydian mix, a Lydian thing, whatever you want to make out of that, or just major, C major scale. But because it highlights the F so much, it's probably going to sound a bit crap over C, just simply because of that note. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so the next bit, this is you're gonna love. This is shred heaven, right? So now the way, and I've got this of a and low sort of instructional type of thing, which where he explains it in a way. He uses his index finger to mute, yeah, and then he uses those 2 fingers to fret this. And there's a half whole tone scale, so it's very much like a Guthrie Govan idea played in a jazz sense. Yeah, you get it. So this is, you're gonna love this. Just gonna do this really slow together. So that's how far we're gonna go, yeah. And depends what fingers you're using. Now I'm using deliberately here the middle finger and ring finger, because you're not gonna go and stop playing, put your pick in your mouth, start the tapping, and then take the pick out, right? So I'd argue if you do that, either find a way of getting rid of the pick. So there's this option, of course, where you put it in your where you put it in your thumb inside here. I keep losing it when I do that, and then I can't get it quick enough out, so it's always a mess. So what I do is I use middle and ring finger, yeah?
So it's
That's it. And now the lick is actually only this, yeah? The whole lick is only this, if you check this out. That's it. Down a string, up a fret, down a string, up a fret. And then it goes simply just back. So I need to hit the right string, that was much better there. Sort of idea. That's it. Shall we do this slowly together? Here we go. Just like an 8-note thing. 3 and 4 and. Okay, makes sense? And then we do the descending one. The descending one is much harder than the ascending one. That's it. And look at that, it's coming together really nicely. Now, Alistair, what he was saying is using those in order to be able to mute with your index finger. I'm not comfortable really with that yet. I can see the sentiment of it. So I kind of, because I started off the same way than what you did, it seems, but I just wanted to follow what he was saying really in a way for no other reason. So try it. Just to humor yourself a little bit, that's it. If nothing else, it's going to make a really strong middle and ring finger. Yeah, I guess, yeah. There's a bit of that. But I can see that because normally that's hairband territory. You know, it's normally hairband territory because you're getting all the, you know, if you do this in a heavy, distorted setting, the whole thing's just going to go ring into each other really badly, isn't it? And, no. So shall we try this again as a just an 8-note thing? 3 and 4 and. Like a string. Like a string. Okay, and now on the way down it's the same thing, but it's. Yeah, it's all pulling off. So you start off on the F, F, E, and then you get D, C sharp, yeah? That bit is the, I find it much harder, the descending one. So again, you're trying to use 2 fingers there on the if you can. Not that I'm kind of a massive master in this, but it was quite good fun checking that out. So we can try this. So we try this as an exercise, like this. Awesome. Something happens here.
Margin for error is very small.
does it tell me here? This is offline. I don't understand.
It's a nice idea. That's cool.
It's a lovely idea, isn't it? So on the next bit, I wonder if this actually records. If I have to do something. The next bit is even more interesting. It's a major pentatonic. If you look at this, if you look at a D major pentatonic tapping, same idea, and it does this. That's it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And it simply just goes up in octaves, yeah? That's it. This is something you can basically shift anywhere you like, but it's, what a cool idea. Yeah?
Nice.
And that's something you can very easily get up to speed again. And of course, if you shift this down a tone, you're in your A minor pentatonic or C major, and off you go. Really, you know, so it's kind of nice. That's it. So it's a nice little exercise. Cool. So far, everybody cool with that? Lovely. So now we're coming from here to our first. Oh no, we've got a couple more. Second page here. So this one here. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. So this is something both of them do a lot, and this is kind of very typical, I think, for more modern type of players. It's the last exercise we do with Allard before we get into the first lick, and that is basically the idea of using the symmetry of the fretboard. Yeah. And this one is one of those bad boys. I'm sure you've seen that plenty of times happening. One of those. And there's two ways of playing that might interest you.
What's the sweep option, yes?
Totally, yeah, absolutely. Total sweeper. Now what you can do is you can do this. That's half whole or diminished. And this is also from the half whole tone scale, but it's a dominant half of it, yeah? And so you could do really. That's kind of a cool little sound. And it gets you almost, that's not quite it. And that's it. So I would use the index finger again there from a fingering point of view. That's it, there you go. It's easier, isn't it, when you cross? That's exactly right. That's it. Right? That's it. And now this moves up very obviously in minor thirds. Yeah, so it's all dominant chords are minor third related, and all diminished chords are minor third related. And because a half whole tone scale, all half whole tone scales are minor third related. So therefore, you can just shift that one around. Yeah. Yeah, can do stuff like that, and that's kind of cool. Can do this in a sort of things. Yeah? It's a kind of a cool, very angular sound. But again, it's a modern sound that often is angular. That's kind of part of that next step in playing, where people sort of move away a little bit from, I guess, sort of the pentatonic blues language, not a pentatonic language so much, because a lot of pentatonic is actually in a lot of the guys, but they move away from that bluesy sound. It becomes a lot more mathematical in a sense, and I think that's part of post-Coltrane, Brecker, those guys that started this often have sort of those halfway house guys, which we all love, the Scott Hendersons. They have one side where they can do the sort of symmetrical stuff, and on the other side they can do the tweet, which is, both of it is killer, of course. Yeah. It's a fun little thing, isn't it? And if, oh, absolutely. And Law again does this at absolute stupid speed. Yeah, exactly like that. And you can do the up and down. Yeah. Yes, you can bring it up and down really, which is kind of what I've written down, I think. Totally, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But why not? Make something of it. That's absolutely the right spirit with that. Because there are ideas, they're concepts rather than a definitive line yet. Really. There's a lot of that to be said. I would any day play little licks like this sort of. But just, because I think it sounds really nice and it doesn't sound quite as dominating as when you do that, of course. I kind of like this. And then I would combine it with maybe another chord. So you might do something like that. Yes, you get a minor. Then you get the then you get the G7. So hi-hat. Don't do it slow, but you can do fast. And then back into the G, let's say, for argument's sake, or wherever you want to go with that. So combining it with other bits and bobs, I think makes those things sound really nice. Cool. So this is as far as and logos. There's a lot of technique in there. The tapping stuff when you work out some things is quite important. And then the idea of playing over. Playing symmetrical things, finding symmetrical shapes. This one here again, yes, the tapping thing, but actually it really bangs into the symmetry of that, doing that like any rock player would do, like any Paul Gilbert would do, like any Guthrie would do, like any Steve Vai has done. So there's nothing new in it. The only thing that's different is the context he applies it in. Yeah? So this one would make, a beautiful little, G Lydian line. Of course, yeah, it would make the same way then it would make, even though it is the same way. Actually, we don't have the 7 in there, so it wouldn't be actually so much of a C Lydian really. Would be really nice. Yeah, that would be giving you the 9, 3, sharp 11, and then it gives you the 6 and the 7. So it could be kind of really hip Lydian line. So look at those things and kind of thinking, okay, one thing is I can do this. The other thing is it's just about that shape. What notes you're implying in there. If you play a chromatic bit or if you play a bluesy bit on this side, or skip every second one and do a different one, so make a different line out of it. That really needs to be up to you contextualizing it for yourself, because as much as I love Angelo and Chris Allard, I don't think you want to be the copy. You want to steal that. You want to steal that shit. Really, that's them.
That's cool. It's a nice idea.
Nice one. Okay, so we're getting to the first lick, and this lick is from a tune called Kanda Chati. And the tune is in 5/4. And I want to quickly see if this actually works if I play this here. It might not. Why is this? Something happened. Okay, so something happened. I'm not sure why that is. Cool. Okay, so this line here comes from a live recording, and it works. It's just literally a G. He basically plays as G Phrygian, but you can see this E flat major globally, a little bit. So you don't have to worry about so much what it is, because it doesn't highlight one or the other so much. It's in 5/4, and again, I kind of almost when I messed around with it, ignored the fact that it was in 5/4, and I show you the different elements. The first 2 bits are very easy. Yeah? It goes. play it for you quickly, yeah? Yeah, that's the line. He plays it also quite fast, so you can hear. Continues on page number 3. Do it by heart. 1, 2, 3-ish. So it's a beautiful thing when you transcribe those things. That's it. And there's a couple of elements again, like I always remember. We talk always about it. Some bits I really like. So I like this opening line. That in itself is a cool line. Yes, if you look at that, that's using that same symmetry. This bit here, and just a linking note. Makes sense? Yeah? So that in itself I think is a cool line and makes you know, can give sort of lead to a lot of different things. And now the next bit here, so, and I've written down there, no, I corrected that. And now here we got something a lot of guys do. A lot of lines we're going to look at will use this. There's a diatonic arpeggios, 2 diatonic arpeggios, but instead of ascending, they're descending. And it sounds so cool after a line. So you get a scalar line. And now, so at that point I should say, and Allard tunes his guitars in 4th, so the top 2 strings are tuned, or they're all tuned.
C&F.
Yeah, that's right. They're tuned C and F, rather than.
Any special reason?
Well, it's maybe you ask me too much. I never ever checked Robert Fripp out, really, to be fair. But it's Tom Quayle uses it, that's right, and Law introduced Tom Quayle to that.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's where we are with that really, and what you're ending up with is symmetry. Okay. Yeah, so you can do whatever you can do here, you can do exactly here without having that stupid break. So the system break is gone, which we're always struggling with, right? Mm. That's one thing, and a lot of things. So if you have a shape here, you have the same shape here. So you can do those sort of things. So from a mathematical point of view, it offers you a few new things, but it also gives you wider intervals.
Yes.
So what I struggled with when I actually transcribe that stuff is very often actually trying to get my fingers around it. So again, I don't want to do my guitar in 4th, but I'm interested in some of the different elements he's using. So rather than kind of thinking of this as the be and end all, the line, the concepts behind it I think are really nice. So doing a straight line, being in full on, yeah, in G Phrygian or F Dorian, yeah, whichever way you want to see that, just with a little chromatic note in the middle there. And then the diatonic arpeggios, that's an F minor arpeggio. Yeah, it's just a B flat in there, really. Does it go to the B flat? Yeah. And then, and then you get here the next, like an F sus sound. And there you can see, normally for him, that would be basically this, yeah? For him it would look like this. I played like what it would look like, not what it sounds like, yeah? Yeah, that would be one of those. And there is actually plenty of lines he plays like this. But there's, in that same tune actually he plays another line that goes, is it this tune? Maybe not. It goes like this. Can I remember that from? You can see that it works the fret, so we have to sort of go do all of those things. For him, is down on one bit here, yeah? But of course it wouldn't sound so well. So you have to really get your fingers around. So here it is. Yeah, this is the bit to master in that particular, but it sounds so nice. And this bit here in the end, so you got the diatonic arpeggios. By the way, sus2 arpeggios are a really big deal in modern sounds. Yeah, you know them maybe as nines or sus2, but I don't know if you've ever done any exercises like this. That's a sus2 arpeggio.
Not for wider shapes.
Yeah, so those sort of things, a sus4 and a sus2. It's a really nice modern sound, very open. This one you know. Anyway, everybody knows that because everybody played the Police track. Yeah. And then here. And now slide up to the 5th. And now you're in a D shape, yeah? You got the 3rd here on the top. You replace that with the 2. And then you go up to the 5th. That's the hard bit. That's it. You do it easily. So now the whole thing is... That's it, yeah? So one is an add 9 arpeggio, the other one, this one here. And then here, I'll show you this one quickly. So this that same arpeggio now descending. This is now 5-2. And then it gets easy. Root, 5-2, root. So it goes upwards. It's really open modern sounds. Yeah, so sus arpeggios are quite a common thing. We don't really practice them. They don't really get mentioned anywhere. And every player I transcribe these days uses them quite frequently. We get to Julian Large next week in Lettieri. You can see a lot of that sort of stuff.
That's nice.
That's it. It's nice, isn't it? Now, of course, it's a bit of a bummer when you do all the way up there, but you get a natural 9, so a natural second in all modes, but Phrygian and Locrian. So you can do the exact same shape if you want to. So. For the entire scale. Miss out Phrygian. Yeah, then mixo. Aeolian. Don't do Locrian, yeah? Then you where are we? In F here. And you're back home, yeah? So you get the whole harmonized scale. Yeah. And with that you can build really nice lines. You can go... Plenty of things you can do with that. So you get, you get basically your sus sounds in there, okay? So this is kind of what I really took from that line. The next bit, we go... And what I really like is once you have a big intervallic jump and a really open, covering a lot of ground, and then the arpeggios, the enclosure. And that is a totally wrong note. Yeah, there's a totally wrong note there, but it sounds so nice because it follows the line, it gives that tension to the line. And when you hear Allard talking about it, he's quite an interesting cat because he went in one of the masterclasses, he went and talks about the fact that, you know, sometimes I play something and I feel I should just continue with that next note. And as long as you know where you are within the tune and what your target is, it's not about being right in terms of right on a chord, it's being right in your musical context. And that kind of resonated with me, kind of going, yeah. And it frees you up a bit. It's like, no, you don't need to know what every outside note is, but you got to know that you played something right now, and it needs to continue. So you got to follow your instinct there, your musical instinct, rather than, you know, all the knowledge. Even though I'd argue he has all the knowledge, just, you know, one thing doesn't exclude the other. But you guys are switched on, right? So this is not a matter of him knowing more than you, but being maybe more brave in that sense. But kind of knowing, you know what, yes, I want to put a chromatic note in there. I need to know it's a chromatic note, but after that, nothing stops me. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a lovely sentiment.
It's easier. It's a simpler way to think about it.
And it's a good way, isn't it? Because it's practical.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you can play and you go, okay, I know I'm really vanilla right now, in Phrygian. I don't want to stay vanilla. I don't want to stay all inside. So what I have to do? Well, obviously I have to introduce tension. What is tension? Easiest way, go outside, right? And know where you're at and come back in. And this is really, really nice here. Sort of so the whole thing, and then he finishes on the flat 9.
Right,
Yeah?
yeah.
But we're going to go through a couple of bits like this in a moment. Cool. So I want to quickly move on to a couple of other bits to not get stuck too much into this. So here, this is I've told you where you can find them exactly, but those ones I can actually dial up on my phone quickly. So let's do this like this. And this is movies, and we are on 210. Okay, here we go. Now, that's that lick, yeah? Now, I've corrected the rhythm. The rhythm is, and the tap on this is wrong. For some funny reasons, didn't double check this. And I transcribed it, and then I listened over it again, and I realized that my rhythm wasn't on it. So the one that got sent out, got the right rhythm on it, and it's got one more bar added to it, yeah? But what I was interested in here is something else. So ignore the tap for a moment for me, please, and do this for me. So you have to do this for me for a moment, please, if you don't mind. I have to go look up, make sure I get the right thing on myself. Like this. So this is something that both of them do, Law and Chris Allard. They use consecutive semitones. Yeah, so that's. So it sounds super slick, but it actually sounds super slick because it is. So you get, so you play the D here, so ignore the 7 there. So you get, wherever it says 7 on the G string, should be 3 on the B string, yeah? And it just emphasizes different notes of that. This is going over a sort of an E sus, over an E sus 2 type of chord. 2 B, 2 3 4. outside sound, right? But it doesn't actually disturb you, right? You look and thinking, yeah, it's a cool thing. So what I did here in terms of the shifting, and you can hear him doing the same thing, but you just listen one more time to the line now with this in mind, and you get the idea. So the line sounds a lot less daunting when you hear that. Now. As I said, it just shifts a bit. Yeah, so it just shifts the line up, really. And
more legato type of.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's where that double note comes in really handy. And he's a hybrid picker as well. And you can make any pattern out of this really, so you don't have to worry about this particular pattern so much, even though it's a cool pattern. What I like is he got a 4-note pattern, he shifts around the emphasis. It's one of those, yeah, get to, so 3, 4. It's one of those, yeah. That's not a quintuplet, by the way. It's a straight 8-note thing, but the emphasis is picked because it was so fast. The first thing I transcribed was rubbish.
Yeah.
So it took me about 10 listens till I fully got what's actually going on. That's it. And now, the trick with it, put a sus chord on and just see what fits, because this is not about right or wrong. This is about the rhythmic pattern and keeping consistent. So here, he has a flat 9, yeah? So he goes here to the flat 9, goes here to the F sharp, but then adds the 4 and the sharp and the sharp 4, yeah? In it. So those are new notes, and then you go shift to that bit. So now you get a pattern of continuity, but obviously nothing else. But this is how that connects to each other. It just connects because you are making certain notes constant when you're shifting up. And that's how the pattern works. And that's why that's kind of a cool thing to do.
So harmonically, C sharp, D over E sus.
That's right. 2,
6,
yeah.
flat 7, then flat 9, over sus 2.
Yes. Which you could do anything, right? It could be minor, it could be major, it could be dominant, it could be half diminished.
Okay.
This sus2 chord is sort of a bit nondescript really on this. So if you play a... For sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a hip fusion line, and I love the concept behind it. The idea, because it's simple in a way, and it's clearly an experimentation with notes. But then the connection is super clever because it makes it musically coherent. You don't think, because the same notes get regurgitated in the next line, you don't think you now have to listen to something random. Right. All of a sudden there's a pattern behind it. As soon as you get a pattern, you're happy. And then of course we are all, our ears have been stretched a bit to listening years on. I mean, you just heard a bit of house words. I mean, after that, nothing really sounds out anymore. Yeah. You sort of, everything sort of sounds a bit like, as I said in my little Facebook thing, Justin Bieber meets ABBA. There's after that, everything is super relaxed. Now, in your version at home, this is properly transcribed. You can have a look at it in the right fingering. I put the right. I've actually found a lot of. I've played through it earlier because I have those lines are difficult. So I had to play through them again before I played them to you. And there was there were a few mistakes in there, so I apologize. But I had to send it out early, so everybody can get the benefit of it. Okay, now because we're sort of running a little bit out of time, I just want to quickly play Aquilinus. I want to show you the line on here quickly, and then just go through it, and then just here I want to highlight the beautiful diatonic content. This is something, a line I reckon Guthrie could have played any time. So it's very valuable to any of us. any diatonic contact. We are 4 minutes 17. Here we go. Tell me it starts, not quite yet. Now. That's the line, yeah? It's relatively fluent, you'd argue. And it's actually not a difficult line at all, other than it's super fast, right? And it's really cool because I've, you know, when you make your decisions of what you want to do, it just stood out. I said, I want to transcribe that line. That was really very selfish of me, but I really enjoyed it. I think you guys do. So this is in E major, yeah, full on, and all the notes are full on in E major. So it's a bit of a chromatic approach there, so we can always ignore that. And then pentatonic, C sharp minor pentatonic. Yeah, so far cool. And now it's a bunch of arpeggios like this. Yeah, so it's first a B major arpeggio or G sharp minor 7, whichever way around you want to see it. Yeah, and then it goes, and then it goes back to the E flat, and then it goes into this E major. Yeah. And then it goes from here to the 6 and up to the octave back down, yeah? That's the basic bones of it, yeah? So that's it. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's a lovely line. So even slowly played, it sounds like this, yeah? That's the basic thing, yeah? And then the whole line, it just then does a little G sharp minor. Shifted up a semitone because the chord goes up a semitone. Yeah, and it sounds so hip when he does that, but he goes from E minor, from E major to F Lydian. Yeah, so you could argue like a Phrygian dominant type of thing, but he sort of plays a major 6 instead of the minor 6 and the major 7. So it's very much E major into F major. Yeah, very much like that. Yeah, so never mind that little bit, even though it sounds super bright when he does it. What's really nice is just uses the exact same line again. So once it's in here, he does the same thing what we did earlier. He does first the C major arpeggio, then he goes to the F major. And again over the 6, it's the exact same line again, yeah? So it's just twice the same bit. So again, I do it slowly, 3 and 4. That line, and then of course it goes in at super speed, which I think the best I could do is about almost there, and then I wanted to cry a bit. Okay, so if it's okay with you, I'm gonna go skip a few bits now, and just gonna go talk about Chris Allard at the very least for like sort of a couple of minutes still. Otherwise you sort of miss him a little bit, which would be a shame. But Chris is great. So Chris Allard is another guy. He's a big session guy in England. So he's everywhere. Like whenever you see any television shows, or he's right now doing the Calais Pro, the X Factor winners. He just came through Guildford actually the other day, and he's a really big, again, modern jazz guy. So Kurt Rosenwinkel meets a bit of Holsworth, meets a bit of that, but he doesn't do it super flash. And the lines I found of him, they're all massively melodic. And I really love that about his playing. So we can have 6 here. That's page number 2, page number 3, page number 4. Here we go. and then page number 5. So if you take page number 4 and page number 5, then we're nearly there. And basically the exercise kind of things, I quickly talk you through them, but this is just what he likes to do, and what I found in his playing a lot is what I call hybrid arpeggios. Yeah? So a lower and an upper structure is not the same. I'll show you one which is one of my favorite one, which Kurt Rosenwinkel does all the time. For example, you know, when you play this type of chord here, I don't know if you know this chord. Do you know this chord? That's right. Yeah, sharp 9. So it's Lydian augmented. Lydian sharp 9. 6 mode of harmonic minor. Yeah. So you could think as this. If this is C, you could think it was E harmonic minor. Yeah. And that's basically what that is. Yeah. That's that sound. Yeah. You get that arpeggio, yeah? Play first major and then minor. That's it, yeah? So you get a minor and a major arpeggio because you got the sharp 9 in there, the minor arpeggio with the major 7, and you've got the major arpeggio with the major 7. That sounds so cool. So now this works a treat over that chord. However, yeah, what about this? Yeah, let's say you get something like this. So if you now Rosenwinkel, who doesn't have that chord in his repertoire, I don't think he knows it exists. In a way, you know, he would naturally go to those sort of chords, but very often, and it's something I recommend you, even in a next time you write a pop ballad, right? There's nothing wrong with chords like this. For example, you can do this, yeah. You write a D minor, then you maybe go to a G sus. Here, before you resolve, and then you resolve to it. It's almost like a sus chord before it resolves. So they sound great when you just sort of you know, see them as part of what's possible in C major. Yeah, just another possible chance. By the way, a normal Lydian augmented sound, Lydian sharp 9 sounds really hip over a major chord, because all you're adding is a minor third. So you're sounding bluesy, if anything. Yeah, that sort of. There's not really the end of the world playing that. There's many other scales you would have played. They're more out than that. It's a Lydian sound with an extra sharp 9. Now, of course, if sharp 9 becomes the note you want to focus on, things are a bit different. Right? Because then that all of a sudden becomes a dangerous territory. But if you use that like you would use a perfect fourth in a major scale as a passing note, it's a cool sound, right? It's an extra tension you've got, especially if you then combine it with a natural 9. And you have that sort of sound. And then of course you just have options. You just use a hybrid scale. And so hybrid arpeggios, hybrid scales where upper and lower structure are different is kind of a cool thing to do. Yeah, so you can say, for example, hey, I want to have a G7 here. Yeah, that's and then I want to have on the second half, I want to have an altered sound. So play an A flat minor arpeggio. Is to play. And it resolves it beautifully back into C, like any G altered would have had. But instead of thinking G altered, you're having an arpeggio that's split in two halves, giving you that sound, and that then you can scale up. Yeah, so you can say, okay, play G, A flat, G, yeah, I mean you're in C, and that kind of gives you sounds and lines you wouldn't normally just get from just playing the scale up and down, but you're still using the same notes. Yeah. So this is a big deal when you're coming down to, because Allard does a lot of this, but modern players in general do that a lot, yeah? So the couple of bits I want to show you, and they go much quicker than what we just did. Here's one that really got me because I like the construction of it. Check this out, Waltz for Libby at 4 minutes 32. By the way, this other one is C altered line. I highly recommend you to check this out and shift it up and down in thirds. Absolutely loved it. He played that, again, on a clinic he did somewhere, played it, and I just thought, fuck, I need that arpeggio. You know what I mean? It just sounded so good. Cool little altered line, mess around with it, but it's a hip, and I shifted it up in thirds and I really liked it. So here, this one is in E major, and it's such a beautiful line, yeah? It goes like this. It's in 3/4, so it's, and now here comes the bit. It's literally just E, it's an E arpeggio, right? But what a nice way, look at this, the fretboard. So, actually I played a C there, which sounds really nice, but actually you want to have the B going to the D sharp, so it's that's really what he plays, yeah. That's it. That's a cool line, right? That's just really lovely. Now you can take that and make a straightforward harmonized major scale exercise out of that any day, yeah, and have really cool lines. And I just thought it's a hip line. Okay, it's the first one. Second one, also from Waltz for Libby, is literally the next one. Here is a proper Holsworth influence. Yeah? He does this one here, and then he goes, so it's. Would do the same thing, yeah? So it's yeah, it's one of those. But again, super diatonic, we're still in E major. Yeah, we're still full on in there, so. And what's really nice, he sets it up with a different type of sound at the beginning. So different arpeggio, sus, or G sharp minor, really, F sharp minor, sorry. And then that's a line. But of course, again, you can scale that line up or down. And then here. You sit all in E, yeah? So you have the same, let's say you have the same idea again. 3. No, don't have the dominant sound. Sorry, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? So they work really well over there. Just go around so you could hear, even though that's the right note, the A natural sounds a bit shit because I've played the G sharp, of course, in my riff. So so the G sharp needs to be highlighted. But that's an artistic choice you make, or a taste choice. That's not so much about right or wrong, it's just a shit note for that. Yeah? Okay, so the next bit, of course, that's it. So the first one is that's it. Yeah, that's great. Nice one. It's heavy, the stretch, isn't it? Yeah. But you get used to it after a while, so do little of it. but you know, maybe for a week, every day a little bit, and then your fingers get strong. And the next bit focuses on a similar type of line. I'll let you check that one out by yourself. I'm just going to go and play you that line. So it goes. So actually, the way you have to practice like this, yeah, because you need that finger later. So it's. Sorry. Yeah, so you get that bit here again. It's a big stretch here. Same sound. Oh, really? Yeah, that's what happens in the end. Yeah. So now the next bit here. This one I gotta show you. This is so fucking fast. 5 more minutes and we're done. Yeah. Sorry for that, guys. Making sure. What's it called? But this is from an album called Open Spaces, and it's Stocks Hill is the tune, and we're on beautiful tune, by the way. 4 minutes. Here we go. Check out that line. That's the one, yeah? Do it one more time. It is so fast. So I can't fully guarantee you that there's all the notes, but I'm pretty sure I listened to it a fair bit, but it gets a bit waffly, like the second half of it, there's 2 or 3 notes in there, which it could be anything. But have a listen to that. That's just one of those. Your gypsy jazzers would do this all the time. That's right. That's it. And the way it's done is usually down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down. That's it. That's a repetition of the shape. That's right. So what I do is. And then you have to go underneath like this, yeah? This is the hard bit. That's the hard bit. What I really like is how it trails off with that major 7. It's stunning. It says A minor arpeggio all the way through.
It'd be easy to use just those 2 rather than that.
It could be. I've always played with. Totally. I always use my little finger. So I've never played without my little finger. But it's not always the best option. So I totally agree with that. It's not always the best. I'm sure there's better ways of doing it. I mean, Django did it, and he had a limited amount of fingers available.
Yeah. We're gonna go for it. Yeah.
Yes. Nice one. Okay, so then the next one, it's the last 2 ones and we're done. The next one focuses on the use of patterns. And this is like sort of an altered line into F minor from a tune called Lizard. Same album, all the lyrics are actually taken from Open Spaces from the album. It's got a lot of great stuff in there. And this is one of those. Yeah, so that's one of those. Yeah, so one more time. As it goes into this one, so if you have the line 2, 3, 4. Whoa! What was that lawnmower sound there? 2, 3, 1. Hang on, actually the chord it's all part of that pattern. And that's the key change in. They could continue. That would be how you would that's how you would continue it if you want to continue the exact same C sound. And then the last one is a chromatic one. I wanted to show that one because it's actually really hit, because all it does is outline the G dominant chord. That's what it does on the top, and then it just fills in. Oh, sorry. Yes, it resolves up to the to the 5, yeah, in a way. But it's a lovely, yeah. And I really just like that bit of it. Yes, right. Is it going to the B flat? Yeah, no, B natural. Yeah, sort of thing. So again, you get 3, 4. Because it actually isn't really about anything else, but and the rest of it is basically here is really outlined on those, or outlining the G chord really, because it's making sure that the major third is in there in both of those lines, and here is actually makes me play the arpeggio. There is kind of really outlining the arpeggio there. Lovely. So we got two guys here, guys. I'm sorry, I know I've overrun by about 15 minutes now. Terribly sorry, but that in itself, I mean, it scratches the surface of two incredible modern players. I think this is the place where, if you want to see stuff contextualized in a modern sense, where you have to go. You can't really rummage around in the 60s and 50s and 60s in jazz to then understand fully what people do now, but you have to get there, the basics. So when we started off with the bebop basics, and when we started off with all of this, so those chromatic, that's still bebop, right? Yeah. Right in the first line we did this, that's not, but that's still a bebop line, that is an enclosure. And we had to look into this to get those bits and bobs, yeah? But then the diatonic stuff is easy understood, but with that, what comes with that very often is two things. It is that the diatonic stuff is now used a lot more freely. So this improvisation on that first one, which is in Phrygian, is actually not over, I don't think it's even over a Phrygian chord progression. It just decides that his sound will be Phrygian on there, and he highlights in his sound the 6 and the 9 as target notes, all things you wouldn't have done. So you get this really, you kind of sometimes thinking this is out, this is off, but it's actually not. It's just him being a lot more courageous with those notes and making something that was a taboo beforehand, making that almost a feature in it. And that I can see in a lot of players. You know, they make little runs, and then their runs, you know, they're finishing not on the root, the 3rd or the 5th anymore. This is just over, you know. Yeah. The 9 even is too, you know, inside. So you're having a major 7 run, and you're finishing on the minor 3rd and the major 7 to get that Lydian dominant sound, Lydian sharp 9 sound, and you really mean it, you know. So you're having over that C, yeah, and you kind of go, whoa, but that's a sound. The next time around you do something that's related to that, and that becomes right then. So what we said here with this chromatic line, and then a lot of the times what people do now is there's a lot more about symmetry and what's possible on your instrument, weirdly enough, almost a bit like the serial musicians were in in the turn of the around about the turn of the century, and it sort of arrived very strongly now on the guitar. I guess ever since the 80s, really 70s and 80s started that game, I guess, and they're really looking into symmetrical lines. Even the tuning and the more strings aid that very much, and I think that's something to look out for. And you get some loads of crazy stuff from that. Anyway, guys, thanks. Next week it's Lettieri and Large, and then great stuff. I wanted to do one on Nick Swatch, right, which is one of the new English guys from up from Leeds. So I talked to Nick, and he's coming and doing it himself.
Sweet, that's cool.
He's killing. And again, this is the week 15, which me and Natural have done together. But I now need to call Nat and ask him if he's happy to do the week before, and then we do the week before together, and then yeah, you guys gonna do that one with Nick really on the 17th of April. And I think that'd be awesome, because first and foremost you want to know him, because he's a session guy like yourself. So it's another contact you're having, another guy to call, and I think he's a really killer player. He's got some really cool stuff. He's again right now he's in his 30s, right now doing it out there, earning money, going around the world playing his lines. And it works. So there's a thing where somebody goes, no, people are willing to put money against those lines. Yeah. It's not a random line. It's not something. It's the same with Chris Allard and Allard. They're right now earning money doing their music. Yeah. That is a big deal, because you can look at Holsworth all you want, but is that really relevant right now? It only becomes relevant once you see that guys right now still working with it, doing it, right? And then that's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, how they use it. I mean, all of them have Holsworth influence that you could see. Yeah. The stretches and placing things on consecutive strings on the fretboard is very much a Holsworth idea, but they do something different with it, and that's where I think is the magic in all of this, and that's where our knowledge needs to come from. Oh, I see what you're doing. I don't care what you do with it, but I care how you do it. Yes. So wonderful. I'm gonna steal, and then Andlaw, I'm sure at one point had to think about speed and other things. So I think some of his tapping really comes from the fact that he's kind of thought about maybe stretches and other things and compensating, getting the bigger intervallic stuff out of the tapping lines, and that's just his way of dealing with a problem. Yeah, and I think that's how it should work. Yeah, that's cool. Cool. Nice one, guys. Lovely seeing you. Now, I wonder if there was something when